All right, everyone, welcome back to From Within She Rises. Today on the show, we are joined by Christina. She's a spiritual teacher, an intuitive counselor, and a guide who has transformed the way thousands approach healing, trauma, and deeper self-connection. She is a founder of SoulThrive, and she blends shadow work, soul retrieval, inner child healing, and intuitive guidance to help break people free from old patterns and step into authentic soul expression. Before we get started into this beautiful conversation, we're going to begin with a body drop-in, which we always do. So if it feels safe to do so, you can gently close your eyes or just soften your gaze and just allow your jaw to soften, letting your tongue fall from the roof of your mouth. Feeling your shoulders drop away from your ears. Take a slow, deep breath in through the nose and an even longer exhale out through the mouth. And just notice where your body is meeting the space beneath you. Maybe it's a chair. Maybe you're laying in bed today. You don't need to change anything. We are just arriving beautifully in the body. Whatever is present in you right now is welcome here. And let this conversation meet you exactly where you are at. I am going to hand this over to Christina to just give us a quick intro on who she is. I feel like that always puts everyone on the spot because they're like, who am I? I could ramble for hours.
Jessie, thank you. Thank you for that little meditation, that little reset. That was great. I needed it even for myself, just to kind of
Same.
settle back into the space and embody. Take a deep breath in. That's really lovely. Yeah. So everything you kind of already introduced me as is what I do. My main focus overall is inner child work and trauma. So
Mm,
the shamanism kind of kicks in with this, and then the shadow work. I am also a psychic medium. And I've been doing intuitive work my entire life. We were just talking about being cognizant, both of us, from our
yeah.
intuitive, our primary clair. So I tend to work with that a lot. But,
Mm,
I love being able to help people do all of this integrative work so that they have the opportunity to align with better outcomes and manifest better experiences for themselves and not be scared of the big feelings at the end of the day. So it's kind of what I
yeah.
try focus on above everything else is like teaching people it's okay to sit and understand themselves and whatever they've gone through and help bridge that gap.
I love that. What were you doing before this? Can you walk us through the moment in your life?
Oh,
Like,
the
we all
journey
have that
itself, the fun,
awakening,
the
like when you were like, okay, I'm not a normal
uh-huh.
person. This is a life calling. This is a thing that is not
Yeah,
doesn't fit in the box that, we're usually
totally.
meant to be.
Yeah, so prior to doing this, it's so funny because I really didn't quite have much of a direction. I knew I loved interior design and interior decorating, so I was
Mm,
kind of going to school in that direction. And then I was also working part-time at the bank. Like it really
yeah.
wasn't anything special. It was just like I'm at school and I'm kind of also doing this part-time thing. And I just was never feeling a sense of fulfillment with that. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean throughout my entire life I wasn't seeing deceased loved ones or getting intuitive hits all the time and
Mm,
downloads or helping people integrate their
mhm.
crisis or their traumas. I was always the person that everybody came to for the advice or the experiences. And I would get a lot
Yeah.
of dream sequences and information, and I would know certain things and get all these, but couldn't, I just didn't know what that was per se or what I was going to
Yeah.
do with it. Like, what do you
Right.
do with that? How do you make a career with
Yeah.
that? And there's nothing normal about this. So just dumb
No.
it down, put it to the side, which, you know,
Yeah.
Mm, I've always loved spirituality. I always used to get psychic readings myself, and often I would hear
Mm,
psychics tell me, you're gifted, you could be doing
yeah.
this, you could be having this experience. So I had a knowing. I just didn't think
Yes.
that this is something I wanted to kind of go in. I pushed it away a lot, even
Mhm.
though it was just
Mhm.
organically who I was, right? And
Yeah.
it was very difficult to kind of get into that place. But when I was 27, I mean, prior to that, I used to party a lot. I used to, be out there having different experiences and
Mhm.
kind of I was drinking a lot too, which was kind of also helping dumb down the sensory in
I
a
was
lot of
gonna say
ways.
that. It shuts off
Yeah,
the
it
clairs a
it
bit,
it
yeah, for
shuts off
sure.
the clairs so that I could actually function, right? Because sometimes it
Like,
was just like I
function in in the 3D, that you, like,
Well,
function in what you're
totally.
supposed to be.
Exactly, exactly. Like the normalcy of what everyone else is, because like if you're seeing perspective
Mhm.
from a completely different view than the person who's in front of you, you're going to constantly run into a lot of conflict, right? So,
Oh, for sure.
dumbing down that sensory experience kind of was what I was doing. And then my body just
Mhm.
dysregulated itself and I got shingles at 27. So I
Wow.
was yeah, my the right side of my arm, which is like the most bizarre spot to actually get shingles, because usually people get it on the side of their face or they get it on the side of the
Mm.
body or like their stomach area. No, I got it on my arm. So it was almost
Mm.
like this experience. I was like, okay, whatever this is, and that reset my entire life. So
Yeah.
it forced me, I was sick for about 9 months. So in that nine
Mhm.
month period, I couldn't work out. I couldn't be around certain frequencies and energies and people. I quit smoking.
Yeah.
I quit drinking. I did a massive edit in my life. And next thing I knew, I was like, okay, I do feel like meditation, right? I need meditation because I used to
Mm.
meditate a lot as a kid.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
just knew that you need to get back into your meditation. You need to get back into your process of meditating and connecting back to your body. And that led to, I really kind of want to understand more of my intuitive gifts. So one day I was in a bookstore and a book flew off the shelf and landed on my feet. And I was like, "Oh, okay, what's this?" And let me just kind of pick this up and have
Yeah.
this experience. And then that led
Mm.
to the next thing, which led to the next thing. And then before I knew it,
Mm.
people were showing up at my front door.
I love that.
And I thought to myself, my parents were like, "What is happening?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but we're going with it because this
We're
is what I'm
just
supposed to be doing."
trust, surrender, you
And
know?
that's been over 15 years now. So,
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
just I summarized that for you, but that's kind of like that awakening process. There was more to it. There was a lot of facing my own shadows, that process, my
Absolutely.
integrative work, my own ability to look at what my emotions were, my big feelings, and how to kind of learn how to regulate my nervous system in that process as well. And then it
Mhm.
became um an initiation process, because every spiritual awakening you have to go through
Mm.
an initiation process to see whether or not you're capable of
Yes.
whatever it is that you need. So,
Yeah.
that was kind of the first initial initiation process. And like, are you going to
Yeah.
lean in or are you going to walk away? Like, what's going on here? And I leaned
Mm.
in. And I've been doing that now for 15 years. So to get to where I am now and to integrate the shamanism and the shadow work and all of that, which was always something that I had, I just wasn't confident enough yet to kind of understand it
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
hadn't initiated in it completely yet. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, it's like anything. You go to school, you learn a skill set, you have to develop the skill set, you have to earn the position
You
that you're in.
attest.
It's the same here. And this
Yeah.
is where, a lot of people don't register how this all works. I'm sure you do, like you've understood your spiritual awakenings, your initiation processes, and you've earned
Mhm.
where you're at. You've earned your seat in the spiritual world. So that's
Yeah.
kind of I've been doing for 15 years now. Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's funny because I've never thought to think of it as an initiation, but it is. Like, when I look back, I'm like, "Okay, every time I'm at this next level of awareness,
Yeah.
there's always something in my life that is gonna be like, 'Are you gonna embody this, or are you just gonna know it
Mhm.
up here?'" And
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
so that is definitely the initiation, is like, I'm gonna put a huge test in front of you. I've given you the knowledge, how to do this, how to embody it, how to get to the next level. Are you gonna do it? I also
Mhm.
think it's really important to share the story that you just did, because I think people just stepping into this don't really understand that we were just normal people. We were just
Yeah.
normal people that also ignored our intuition. We also
Mhm.
were asleep, and
Mhm.
something jolts us out of it. And really do think it's usually something like very polarizing. For me, it was like just arguing back and forth with my husband about politics. We don't agree on them, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I did the same thing. I was like, I'm going to meditate every single day. And then it was like one thing after another after another. You should do this, you should do that. And then all of a sudden
Mhm.
I'm having visions with Jesus, and it's like a wild ride,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm. Christ
but
consciousness. Love work the Christ consciousness frequency. Love it.
yeah, but at the end of the day, we are literally, like, we were normal people, you know?
Yeah. I still think I'm normal. I think I'm a very boring person at
Yeah,
the end of the day. It's so funny. It's like, what do you,
same.
everyone's like, they're like, what are you doing? Like, is spirit around you 24/7? I'm like, I'm always getting downloads. I'm always getting hits.
Yeah.
I'm always even at times remote viewing certain situations. I could be pulled into something that I
Mm.
need to have an awareness of or whatever, but I'm washing the dishes, like, or I'm cleaning or
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
walking.
yeah, yeah.
It to me, it
Yeah,
just is normal, like, this and when people are like, "What do you mean it's not normal that, you've got s" and I'm like, "No, I'm a pretty boring person if you just, like
yeah,
I do mundane things, like, it's not like I'm walking around, like, taking a notepad with everything that's going on, and I'm, like, bombarded, 24/7. I like to
yep,
tune out when I need to tune out, turn it off when I need to turn it off, and turn it on when I'm working. Completely different,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've mastered the turning it off thing, but it's the same
Yeah.
thing. I've got 4
Yeah.
kids, right? I've got 4
Yeah.
kids, so there's times where, like, my daughter's puking on me and I'm cleaning the
Ugh,
sheets and I'm
that's the
having
same.
downloads, and I'm like, "Okay,
Right.
I'll come back to you later."
Right. Right.
Hopefully.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's also a superpower to be able to be that mundane. And I think
Mhm.
like when you get too caught up in spirit, then we can't actually make a difference in the collective, right?
I agree.
We need to be in the liminal space, which is very
Yes.
shaman.
Yes.
It's like that liminal space, which I feel like is for you, that's where you're working from. And for me, that's where I always have to live. I have 4 freaking children.
You
I
have
can't
to
be
be
up here all the
present.
time.
You
Like,
can't.
yeah,
You can't, and it's
absolutely.
not fair. It's also not fair to walk in with that type of energy activated all the time because
Hmm.
we don't know because we're activators at the end of the day too. Like we know, I
Yeah.
know for me as a shadow worker, I'm always going to come in the place and mirror back the subconscious parts of you. And so sometimes I know
Mhm.
when I walk into the environment, I'm like, okay, shit's about to go down because like I just
Mm,
walked into the environment and this is what's happening. And sometimes I have to
mhm.
have the responsibility to tune it off and be like, this isn't the
Yeah.
place for this type of activation to occur.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's recognizing that, and that's again too the initiation process of like registering, working with the shamanism aspect and Christ consciousness and all of that. There is an element of responsibility with this energy, and you have to really be aware of how you're showing up in your
Mm,
reality and what you're doing. And in the past, when I was
mhm,
just like a baby to all of this, right? I was like, okay, I'm
mm.
doing whatever. I was like way too open. And I was just like, well,
Yeah.
isn't that the whole point? Aren't you supposed to be open? And they're like, no, you're not, because
Mm,
conduit for so many different frequencies that when you're
yeah.
walking into an environment, you could also be causing more harm than good. You have to
Mm,
have that awareness. So, like,
yes.
it's important to be rooted. It's important to be grounded. It's important to kind of just be like, for instance, I love it because sometimes my friends are like, so what do you think about this? I'm like, not my, you guys figure it out. I'm not going to sit here and now go into the whole concept and the conversation and
Yeah.
like, this is your karmic lesson. This is your karmic experience. I'm not intervening
Mm,
with that. And often
yeah.
I do that a lot, even with my clients. They'll come to me like, just tell me this, tell me that. And I'm like, no, no, you are not ready for that. You have to learn the
Exactly.
lesson. You have to go through
Mhm.
that experience for you to register. Are you ready to be open to receive this type of frequency and energy? Because then you're going through your initiation process.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
holding that space for you in that. And if you're
that's
not ready
it,
for it,
right? You're
you're
holding
activating
space,
it.
you're guiding, but then you're like, "Okay, I'm not giving." And I think that's where people think that they're just gonna find someone and they're just gonna snap their fingers and they're just gonna be like, "Okay, you have to do this, 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 and that." But actually, like, there are
So true.
as many souls and lifetimes as there have been, that's how many different pathways there are to God, oneness, whatever we're calling it,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
we just hold the space to be like, okay, I could maybe like I'm sitting here, I'm witnessing, I could maybe point out a little thing if I feel like I'll usually like I'll if something comes channeling through, I'm gonna be like, I'm getting something from your inner child. Do you want to hear it? Are you ready to hear it? And
Mhm.
then, you're literally holding the space. They have to. I'll tell you what is being said, but I'm not gonna tell you what I think it's actually saying. You're gonna have to figure that out.
100%. Or sometimes it's also just, I'm not gonna tell you because it's not time for you to hear that.
Yeah.
And I don't say it, I just know it, and I'm just like, "Okay,
Yeah.
when they're
Yeah.
ready, they'll come back and we'll have that conversation, but I know I
Mhm.
can't I'm not allowed to intervene." People don't comprehend that. They
Mm.
assume that As an
Mhm.
intuitive or as a psychic medium or anything along those sorts, when you're working with energy, you have to have a respect for
Mm.
people's energetic boundaries and your own as well.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're going in and what you're walking into as an intuitive as well, and what you're going
Mm.
to pick through the process of that. Because there's a lot
Yeah.
of attachment and other things that come with that experience, especially because as a shadow worker, I'm in all your stuff. As when I'm doing the soul retrieval, I'm in all
Mm.
your stuff. So
Mhm.
where are you with all your stuff? Or do you have some
Mhm.
awareness of your stuff? Because if I
Mm.
go in there and I have that experience with you, what am I taking away from that too, that could also be
Yeah.
a detriment to my own energy and to my own
Yes.
karma? People don't register too that if I don't give people the opportunity to learn the lesson, to go through the process, to have that experience, I'm intervening with their karma, which by the
Mm.
way is not I'm banking bad karma at that point.
Right,
Shouldn't be
right.
doing
Yeah.
There should be an energetic understanding of all of those things, and this is why I have such a hard time, and I'm so sorry that I'm gonna call this out the way I am, with all
No.
the tarot readers on TikTok and everything else that's going on.
Like
It's
the
just like,
collective
and then
reads?
this, and then open, and then that, and then open, and it's just like, guys, no, like, we don't know
Mm.
who's viewing. You don't know who's
Yeah.
viewing. You don't know what's happening
Yeah.
here. We have to have a preparation. We have to have an understanding of what our own personal energy is and what our boundaries are with all of that. I mean, I get it. I would love
Mm.
to do more on social media, but I get so tired because
Mm.
it's just too much. And I'm like, it's not that I'm not capable of having the conversation or educating or whatever else, but when it comes to intuitive work, you've got to be
Yeah.
mindful to cooperate with all of that stuff, right? And again, it is sacred. There's a sacredness
Mhm.
that comes with that. There is permission that comes with that. There's working with the universe and working with Mother Earth together in harmony. We can't just
Mhm.
come at it throwing all of our stuff without registering what we're putting out and where we are. Am I having a good day today? Am I regulated today?
Mm. Yeah.
Am I in my embodiment today, or do I just feel like I have to do this as a task because it's
Right.
gotta get right? Which
Yeah.
energy are we showing up with all the time? And if I know that
Yeah.
I've been busy all week with clients, I'm so sorry, but I don't have the time to go on social media sometimes to be like, "And now here's your reading on top of that." Like, it's a lot.
Yeah. It is a lot. How do you feel then? And I feel like this is going to go completely off topic, and I'm not going
Sure.
to ask any of the questions that are planned, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
um,
Those questions were really
no,
good though,
that's,
so
I
I'll
think that's beautiful. Sometimes it's good to just be in the flow. How do you feel then about, do you think that there's a layer of those tarot card readers? Can they actually put this kind of intention into what they're doing and say, okay, I'm calling in only those that need to see this to see this? Because a lot of
Sure.
times does that work,
So
because
then we're getting into the conversation about laws of attraction and the subconscious, right? And if most of those
mhm,
tarot card readers are not actually doing the reflective work and the shadow work and looking at their own
mm,
mirrors, what are we
right,
attracting?
right, right.
So there are some of them that I enjoy. Like I'm like, oh, this is really nice. You got a good vibe. I really like this energy. Good
Yeah,
for you. Great.
yeah.
And then there's others I'm like, "Oh, no, I can't. Like, this energy right now is like it's frantic or there's an urgency or there's
Mm,
tension or there's like this shadow part that you're not registering." And again, it's not
yeah.
that I don't wanna come off as a judgmental person because that's not what I'm
Mm,
trying to get. It's more of from an educational perspective that I'm approaching this. I'm trying to approach this
yeah.
as the educational perspective of understanding the initiations, understanding the shadow parts and the shadow emotions, understanding
Hmm.
how your energy is showing up in a specific way, and also the responsibility of the message that you're giving to a collective experience. How is that
Yeah.
impacting them?
Yeah.
Right?
I
So
mean, I agree. Because there's a lot of times I like listening to those. I'm like, "Oh, this is kinda cool," but there's a lot of times where, like, they're saying something and I'm like, "Ugh, that really does not resonate with me." But I think the
mhm,
difference is how many people on the other side of the screen staring at this tarot read can actually use their embodied intuition and take what resonates, leave what
mhm.
doesn't. That
No,
is
they
truly the
don't.
hardest part.
They don't. They don't. That most of them are literally, and I've had conversations with people through social media or whatever, and they're like, "Well, this person said this." And I'm like,
That's great.
okay,
What does your
okay.
body tell you? What did your body like about it? What did it
What are you
not like
gonna
about
what do
it?
you wanna are you gonna do something with that? Are you gonna make a change with that? Are you gonna look at that from a no, no, this is
Yeah.
just the outcome of the experience. And I'm like, but it doesn't work like that. There's an
It's the outcome of
accountability,
their experience. So what's the outcome of
right?
your experience with
Exactly.
this?
And also I think what I would love more is that people start trusting themselves more and leaning
Yes.
into more of their intuition and leaning into
Yeah.
more of their process and leaning into more of their empowerment. And
Mhm.
I don't want to have power over someone like that.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not right. It's not a right thing to do. It's not right that I
Mm.
know more or I see more and now I'm dictating. I can say, hey, there's two
Mhm.
timelines here based on
Yeah.
what we're looking at and what I'm viewing right now. If you choose
Mhm.
this, this will go that way. If you choose that, and this is what you need to do over here in order to make this happen, or you need to do this over
Yeah.
here. There's a way of looking at that, and you have the free will in that experience. It cannot just be
Mhm.
so black and white. We cannot look at it like that, nor
Yep.
should we have any power over anyone else ever, because then
Yes,
we're
I
putting
agree.
God a problem,
Yeah, it definitely is a problem.
right?
I think
So these are just
the biggest
the educational
is
perspective that I want people to know.
yeah. It's them, it's teaching intuition. I like human design. I don't know if you've ever gone down that route, but I love that
I
as a
haven't.
way
Well,
to
I've heard of it for sure. Yes, heard of it for
I
sure.
love it as a way to understand, like, how to start listening to God through your body. So, me being
Mm,
somebody who's sacral, so what excites me, I know it's like my intuition being like, "Hey, you should listen to this," right? Like, I always say my spirit animal is a chihuahua because when it's really something for me, I am shaking viscerally. It doesn't happen every time, but, like, when it's a hell yes, we are
right,
vibrating.
right.
Um but we need to start listening to that really quiet voice that lives in our body, that is speaking through us to us, because that is your higher self, it is God, it is whatever you wanna call it. I'm so
Mhm,
like, I am Christ conscious energy, like, I know, like, that is for me,
mhm.
universal love, you know?
Yeah,
But I also can sit I can zoom out and be like, "Okay, we're all actually talking the same language, we're just using a bunch of
mhm,
different labels."
mhm,
And so that part doesn't matter, but how do we connect to source, universe, God, Mother Earth, whatever we're labeling it? Can we start
mhm,
listening to the other side of it that lives within us?
mm. Then we'd have to acknowledge the duality that exists within us and the duality that exists outside of
That is
us.
the
And that goes
yes.
into a whole other kind of spectrum of a conversation. I love 2026 because 2026 is going to be such a huge thing for Christ consciousness on so many
Mhm.
levels. And it's going to be about a lot of people learning how to embody Christ consciousness,
Yeah. Mhm.
which is going to be
Yeah,
huge. But on the other
it is.
spectrum of that, there's also going to be a lot of duality with that as well. That's why getting into
Mm.
conversation, right? Because,
Yeah.
some people assume that the way that we're referring to Christ consciousness is like not the right way. Because if we're looking at people who are highly religious, they're going to have some views on this from a completely different point of perspective. And that
Mhm. Mhm.
controversial in a lot of ways, but that's how we operate, whether we like it
Yeah.
or not, are based on duality. That's what exists within us. And then it mirrors outside of us. So,
Mhm.
really, if anyone's listening to this today, I think like embody, 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 just like you started off this process. We get into your body, breathe, like, relax, settle in, take a
Mhm.
breath. There's no urgency. Take your time to kind
Yeah.
of do what you need to do. Regulate your nervous system. I really
Mhm.
believe regulating your nervous system, not just through breath work, through the integrative work, through shadow work, through emotions,
Mhm.
tapping into your inner child, it
Yeah.
gives you the ability to be rational in your decisions,
Mhm.
grounded in your decisions. There's no urgency in your decisions, and it gives you the opportunity to really line up with better outcomes. Because you're thinking
Absolutely.
about things, and
Mhm.
you're being strategic with what you need to do, and you're choosing to make decisions not just for you, but for the collective as well. Like,
Mm.
if I'm
Mhm.
doing this, how is this going to impact my community of people? And then how is
Yeah.
that going to impact those people outside of whatever that may look like? So it becomes more of a
Yeah.
conscious process, which is really huge.
It is really huge. Yeah. That's interesting. Thinking about, I mean, I think I'm coming from Christianity too, right? Like it's
Mhm.
not like I just woke up and saw Jesus and it came out of nowhere. I grew up Catholic. We were like actively in a Christian church for a year, like every Sunday. And then this happened. But I do
Mhm.
feel like, sitting at where I'm at in this embodiment process of for me, what Christ consciousness is, I do see the need for those things. I see the
Mhm.
need for all of it. I think we're all just on different branches of the same tree, or like on different paths up the mountain, whatever analogy you want to use. I see
Mhm.
why that's important. The other day I
Mhm.
posted a video about non-duality, and somebody commented, was like, "Are you trying to tell me that the billionaire elite are not villains?" And I'm like, "That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there are different levels of understanding, right?
For sure.
I'm not saying that people don't do harm, but I'm saying that energetically, when we don't look at within ourselves, at
Mhm.
the little pieces of us that also consent to this harm and need this harm to exist, then we are kind of allowing this to come in. And
Mhm.
that doesn't feel good at all. I
Mm.
think, like, the way I see things is, how do we now, and I mean, this is the work that you're doing on a singular individual level, looking at all of these shadows that live within ourselves. Because when we show up integrated, when we show up embodied, we show up integrated and embodied to the people around us, right? They're getting the best version of us, and they're now going to have this, like, presence that's giving them the best version of themselves, and they're going to probably have a better chance at staying integrated themselves, even if they're not consciously doing the work.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then that has a ripple effect across humanity. So if more of us did the shadow work, did the inner child work, did all of this, that would actually be what shifts the collective. I was
Mhm.
reflecting this morning on a toxic relationship that I was in for 8 years with my
Right.
children's dad, my older two. And it was like what I would have called back then very narcissistic. It was like a lot of verbal abuse. I left many times and still came back many,
Yeah.
many times because
Yeah.
somebody was telling me, this is how we get out of the situation. You need to leave. And then I would be like, okay, yeah, my brain gets it. My brain gets that I have to leave. But I wasn't
Right.
embodying that I
Right.
had to heal the parts of me that needed to be the victim. So I continued to show up and
Mhm.
consent to this situation. I continued to be the other half that was the victim that then created this toxic environment. My dad used to tell me it takes two to tango, and I used to find that so triggering. And now I
Right.
sit here like 10 years later and I'm like, damn, he was right.
Well, what you're communicating is, what we don't register. Our nervous system is attuning to frequency, tone, vibration, and then adapting to that way of operating. And then we
Mhm.
don't understand the physical conditioning of why we keep going towards the same patterns over and over again.
Yeah.
Cognitively, I could have the awareness, right?
Yes.
We operate in a system, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, right? So our mental
Mhm.
body may have the awareness. I could educate myself and have the awareness that this is abuse. I register this is abuse. I know that
Mhm.
this is abuse.
Yep.
Physically, I may physically register, ooh, this doesn't feel good. I don't like
Mhm.
this. This response is happening in my body. I'm getting sick. I'm feeling all these weird sensations show up. Spiritually, I'm completely blocked. I don't have the
Yeah.
faith. I don't have the ability to see
Yeah.
on the other end of that spectrum
Mhm.
or that situation. And emotionally, based on my attunement in my nervous system, I only know what I know. So therefore, I will
Yeah.
always go towards my comfort. So even though I'm
Yeah.
getting abused, even though it's toxic, even though it's bad, that's all I know. And that's the
Yep.
capacity of what my nervous system can contain. So the
Yeah.
idea of taking someone out of that containment and putting
Mhm.
them into something completely different doesn't feel good. It
No.
won't. Even though rationally we understand you're going to make the decision to leave. That's the right
Mhm.
decision to do. That's the rational decision to do.
Yeah.
You're like, Great. Got my bags, ready to go, out the door. I did it. Oh no, now what? What's the containment now? I don't know what I'm going to do
Mhm.
with this because you're in what we refer to as a fight or flight fawn response,
Yep.
regardless. So
Mhm.
we don't know what that other containment, what I'm capable of. Am I safe enough? And so the
Yeah.
inner child work, when we're looking at the inner child work, we're going right into what the nervous system can contain as well, can hold. And this is why
Yep.
also manifestation is great and beautiful because I love doing prayer and manifestation together. I like them
Mm.
as a team.
I think they're the same. Yes, I think that they are. Yeah.
They're different, in my opinion, they're a little different because, manifesting is more of the desire of something and
Mhm.
prayer is more of the ability to surrender to the something. And then there's a
Yeah, I
beautiful
think they go
harmonious.
hand in
Yeah,
hand. I feel like you
totally.
can't do one the
Yeah,
other without the other, so I just lump them in as
exactly.
you have to do
Yeah.
both.
You have to have both
It's the
because then
masculine
like
and the feminine, you know?
100% agreed. Yes. So those both contain, like they come together as the containment for the opportunity to be able to go, okay, let me look at the shadow parts of all of these aspects of myself and let me surrender to
Mm,
them. Let me give
mm,
into them so that
yes,
my
yeah.
nervous system has a different way of operating because I can go in through my visualization or my intention and then integrate that inner
Mm,
child wound that felt the most unsafe. And that now
yeah.
changes the frequency in my nervous system, which then means I can then manifest the experience and the
Mm,
desires that I want to have. But the first thing
yes.
is a surrender to that, right? That's why it's like the prayer
Yes.
part. It's like so important to be able to be like, hand to God, like I'm done. I surrender to it. I don't know what else to
Surrender
do. I'm
the
going
outcome. Yeah.
to, and then we can go,
Yeah.
great. You've let go of that resistance. You've
Mhm.
let go of that resistance. You let go of the control. You let go of what you know or don't know or whatever that may look like. And then you go into the shadow parts of whatever it is that you need to integrate so that you can line up with something better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the work we have to do on an individual level because if we want to, we get so stuck on forcing. But I can
Yeah.
tell you from that experience, you can't force. Someone can keep telling me this is how you get out of this, and I can keep even trying to do it. But until I can come to that conclusion on my own, until I
Hmm.
can have the space to meet those shadows,
Hmm.
I'm gonna keep going back, and when we look at that from a like, witnessing and looking back at generational and collective patterns over thousands of years, the force doesn't work. Like, we can all come
No,
up with a great answer to be like, "Okay, we want to end corruption. We're all gonna stop going to work tomorrow." Okay,
there
but
has to be a plan.
what got us there? You know, what
Yeah.
got us to this corruption? What parts of because they're gonna be slightly different for everyone, and if
Hmm.
we don't all individually step up, it doesn't shift, right? Until
Hmm.
I could step up and do the work for myself, I kept going back, and that we see
Right.
that collectively over and over and over again,
Hmm. Hmm.
and yeah, I think we really underestimate what we can do on an individual level. And I know a lot of
Hmm.
people get triggered sometimes talking to me that like friends that I know because they're like, "Well, why aren't you seeing left versus right? Like how can you get past this corruption and whatever?" But I'm like, "But I can see like in my own life embodied when I meet myself with honesty and I embrace those parts of myself and I integrate those parts of myself, I show up better and better and better and that ripples." And if we
Hmm.
all did that, that is going to be the only thing that changes the collective energy.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think that there's a beautiful harmony in being able to figure out what is being mirrored back to you so that you have the opportunity to integrate those processes for you. And the shadow is always
Mm,
being shown first. And even
yeah.
in the conversations that we're having, I'm always looking at the conversations or I'm always looking at what I'm eating or
Yes.
how I'm
Mm.
dressing or how I'm feeling. Like all of that is a mirror of what's going on based on an emotion or a trigger or a coping mechanism that I have
Yeah.
not identified yet. And so it's an opportunity for me to always go, okay, I got to go a level deeper here and I've got to
Mhm.
register what's showing up so that I have the opportunity to embody the change. And it's not going to happen
Yeah.
just overnight. That's what people don't
No.
understand. However, that goes into one of your questions that you're going to ask about spiritual bypassing, right? So often people
Yes.
tend to go into what feels good, as long as it just feels good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
However, maybe in a circumstance such as like when before you could even decide to leave something that's really bad, you have to start doing the feel good work. You have to
Yeah.
start creating that little bit of that foundation of like, okay, what's my one empowerment today? What can I focus on today that could give me
Mhm.
like a little bit more confidence so that that then starts to build a better foundation so that I can actually embody that move if I'm not fully
Yeah.
ready to do the shadow work or the integrative aspect of things that they both serve at the time that's most important to a degree. But then once you're out and once you've moved on with your life and once you've had your experiences, you got to look back because then you got to go,
Mhm.
okay, I feel good. Great. Fantastic. You got a good foundation. Now we got to pivot and we got to look at what was created over there so you don't do it again, not just for you,
Yeah.
but for your children.
Exactly,
It's
which
not
is why,
just
like, I'm sitting here.
for the next.
Exactly. I'm looking back, like, 10 years later, and I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god, I did that." Like, I
right.
actually was also, you think, like, I truly treated him like he was abusing me too, right? So even if
Hmm.
it started as a little thing, which it didn't start immediately, the way I reacted to these things
Right.
made it worse and worse and worse. And I know it's hard to get to that point, but
Hmm.
it took me 10 years to be able to look back and see that. Now
Everyone
that
has to
being
be
said,
the role
I
that they
I
play.
would exactly. I would recommend not taking 10 years and just hiring
No,
Christina. I
it's
feel like
okay. It's okay. It's okay. In those 10 years, you learned some really amazing skill sets. You learned to
yeah.
navigate some really great, amazing situations, and that's going to help you in being able to help others. Like, I
Yeah,
hate to
yeah.
say it's part of the initiation process that we were talking about. If we're out of that victim mentality, not being victimized, because there is, of course, when you're victimized, you've got to go through a massive healing process. You're at a place right now where I
Mm,
can have the conversation with you where like you're not in your victim mentality anymore. You're taking complete accountability for your role, your trauma, your experiences, and your shadow parts. Now
yeah.
you're looking at that going, ooh, look at all the things I learned. And look
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I am now and what I can do here to pivot in this experience and then show up at a completely different capacity, which that is a
Exactly.
beautiful state to be in. And that's part of the process of doing this work too.
It's difficult. It's difficult to be here. And I even like say it out loud and I'm like, I know that I'm going to trigger like the
They're
99.9%
cognizant
ers.
too. Yeah, but that's your path, girl. That's your path. As a clear cognizant, we are leaders. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed
We're
to
supposed
step
to
into that.
trigger.
And you're supposed to trigger and you're supposed to like, I get that. People are going to
Yeah.
ally. They're not going to like what you have to say. They're going to take it personal. This isn't personal. At
Mm,
the end of the day,
yes.
this is not about me. It's about the
Hmm.
collective for all. So either we are working as a team, and if you are not showing up as a team player, that's cool. Stand over there. But
Yeah.
we are moving in this direction. Right. And so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
took a long time for me to comprehend that too, because when you're in your low self esteem and you're in your trauma and you're not registering the shadow parts of how you operate, it really is jarring when someone comes at you and you feel attacked. You're like, "Oh my god, someone's making something.
Yeah.
Why are you coming
Yeah.
at me?" Like, there's a whole different conversation with your body, your full clear cognizance, and you're like, "I'm a leader. I'm supposed to trigger you. Good. Good for you. Figure out your wounds
Mm,
now. This is
yeah.
about you. It's not
Yeah.
about me. You're just
Well, and
using
it
me."
took exactly. It took a lot of me being like, okay, I
Mhm,
every in that healing, in that looking at these projections and being like, okay, what is this trigger meaning to me? I
mhm,
came to the realization many, many triggers later. And again, this is like after the Christ consciousness awakening, really. But it became very clear that every single trigger was never a them problem. It has always been a me problem.
sure,
Why
yeah,
am I reacting?
mhm,
Why am I getting so upset that that I think that somehow my identity is being threatened by someone else's truth? And I think
mm,
the biggest part is coming to the realization that there is no absolute truth was truly the best thing that could have happened to me, because in
Mhm,
that realization, I no longer fight for someone else to meet me on my wherever I am on the mountain.
mhm,
And I also don't fight to keep that viewpoint because I'm
mhm,
like, I don't know the absolute truth. I know my version and my embodied truth right now. And I'm going to stand firmly in that until somebody makes me question it again through another trigger. And then I'm like,
mhm.
okay, is this the next layer? Let's go.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. That's exactly it. Like, it's so important to be able to be kind of be like, "Okay, I get that. That's showing up. Now I gotta go dive into that." And that's my
Yeah.
day-to-day process. Like, that's exactly what I do every single day. So, like I said, I'm tuning into everything that I'm attracting all day, every day.
Yes.
And then I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, okay, this triggered me right now," or, "Ooh, this made me
Mm.
feel a sense of, like, I can breathe and it feels
Hmm.
open." Let me lean into this perspective too, because people don't register that when you're also doing shadow work, there's also another aspect of that, with the other integrated part of like, wow, that really felt lovely to have someone be super kind to me, or can
Yeah.
hold space for me too, or show me some
Gratitude.
gratitude and love, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
nice. I'm just gonna breathe this into my body too, because that's the point of this.
Hmm.
We're going into the shadow because the shadow also has the light. We have to also
Hmm.
experience the duality of both. And this
Yeah.
is really, really nice to be able to understand that and embody that. And like, I love both parts so much.
Yeah. I think that's the like, getting to be curious about the shadow is so beautiful. Like
Hmm.
I said, every single trigger is just an opportunity to meet myself deeper and fuller, and that's beautiful. And, yeah, I feel like that's been the biggest thing for me is realizing there's no absolute truth, because it not only allowed me to start to be so fluid in releasing these
Hmm.
identities and these truths. But it also allowed me to be like, I'm not fighting you on your truth because you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're like literally, this is, I get it. I can like now kind of also zoom out and be like, I can understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from. I can
Yes.
understand this viewpoint and I totally get it. Okay, cool. Have a wonderful day. I
Exactly.
don't, no more debating.
Yeah.
And then people get triggered by that too, because then they're like,
Oh, I
what
know,
do you
'cause what
mean
they
there's no
want.
absolute truth? Why don't you want to fight me? And I'm like,
Well, they're looking for regulation. Like, even when I'm in a
yes,
session
yeah.
with someone at the end of the day, if someone comes in with their ulterior motive or whatever they think they want out of that session, they don't even know most of the time, but they objectively come in with this, a
Mm,
way of operating. And if it's like spirit's going to come in a completely different capacity and they're going to give you the information that you need to hear. You can't come in with your own agenda. But because they're coming in with these shadow wounds and these shadow parts, and they see someone like me who may embody the idea or the concept of regulation for them or self-soothing for them, when they don't know how to regulate their own nervous system, they're going to go into the conflict, they're going to go into the debate, they're
yeah.
going to go into, you did, I don't think it's this, I think it's this, and then it's like, so I used to get caught up in that, and
Yes.
now I just stay still. I literally in the session just
Yeah.
go, okay, I just don't think that you're receptive to this right now. I want to thank you so much for this experience, but this, you and I are just not on the page that we need. And you're welcome to
Yep.
come back down the road, but this just isn't working out for us, because I'm not going to regulate you and self soothe you. And then you're going to dysregulate
Yeah.
me. And then I can't show up at the capacity that I need to for the rest of the day and my experiences. It took a very long time for me to learn, like, I'm not for everybody, and that's great. And I shouldn't be for everybody, because
Mhm.
I'm holding a specific frequency and a specific vibration, and that's important. And like tuning it in,
Yes.
tuning up, tuning out, depending on whatever you're playing with the radio dial when it comes to that, or shutting it
Yeah.
on or off. Important for my well-being overall. But I don't need to be liked by everybody, and I don't need everybody
Absolutely.
to think that I need them in my space. Like, no, like, and I tell people on my
Yes.
team quite often, I'm like, guys, it's so, so important for you not to be friends with everybody, not just to welcome
Yeah.
everybody in. You need to know where
Yeah.
everybody, where they land in your life and in your experiences. We run into so many conflicts and so many issues, And we're not viewing why because we're just letting in and more and more and
Mm,
more. And then we're dysregulated. We don't know what we're feeling. We don't know how to tap into our embodiment. And we don't have a clear mind. We're just taking on all that toxic energy. And then we're like getting upset.
mm,
It's like, but guys,
yeah.
edit your lives, look at your relationships,
Mhm,
see which
mhm.
ones bring light to you, which ones are going to hold you accountable, which ones are going to show up for you and have containment and safety for you. Why do you
Yeah.
keep going towards the ones that are rejecting you? Because of your wounds. Examine
Yep.
those and then pivot, right?
Yeah.
And so it took a long time for me to kind of register that because I love to love everyone and I want everything to be like kosher and great
Yeah.
and everybody getting along with everybody. And then I was like, it's just not
It's not
feasible.
how
Most of the time I was
no.
putting up fires that I was like, this is just too much work.
Yeah. And I think there's like levels that you can handle. You get to a level of awareness because I feel like now, obviously, there's some people that I'm like, I'm sorry, we're really not on the same level. I'm not spending any
Mhm.
time with you. But I mean, looking at, and again, my husband and I don't agree on politics. I'm now like, I don't agree on any politics really. I agree on the golden rule, which is treat everyone with love and respect.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, so we like again, like he's not spiritually awakened. He's at this like
Mhm.
different level of awareness. He's still a wonderful man. He's still a wonderful father. He's still a wonderful husband, but he's at this completely different viewpoint. Like
Mhm.
he's here on the mountain, and I'm here on the mountain looking up, and he's still kind of looking down, and still being at the level of consciousness or awareness or whatever that I'm at now, when he triggers me, I can come back and I can come back and center myself and just breathe and be like, okay, no, he can meet me here when he's ready to meet me here, and that's it. But
Mhm.
when I reflect back, like before I got to this level of awareness where I'm constantly like, I feel like it sounds a little masochistic, but I'm like calling in the triggers. Like, okay, I'm not calling them in, but when they come, I'm like,
Mhm.
I welcome this. Like, let's use this as a way to go
Yes.
further and further into love. But before I got to this point, I definitely had to remove myself from a lot of situations, from a lot like from you think
Mhm.
jobs, you think like parents, you think friendships, you think like just like toxic environments, period. So I think there's a
Yes.
level where you really have to completely remove yourself before
Mhm.
you can meet yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. I would agree. And I like
Yeah.
where your husband's energy is at because he is a catalyst for you in so many ways. Like we
Oh,
love,
yes.
love, love my husband too. I do feel
He
like my husband's very intuitive and he's got his ways of regulating himself and stuff, but such a great way of being able to just
yeah.
reflect back when I'm like up here and he's like, I'm like, all right, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I need to come back here and have this
Yeah.
conversation and register this trigger right now and
Yep, yep.
embody and operating. Great.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, universe.
Also, children, if you would like to force yourself to look at your mirrors very much, just have a bunch of
100%.
children. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, so true, right? I don't have children. I have my little dog and stuff, but I work with people's inner child all day, every day. So I'm with children
Yeah.
all day, every day.
You Yes, it would be triggering
Literally.
for you as well, I'm sure. Yeah, it's so interesting. But yeah, I think like the more curious, if we're going to Christ consciousness, if we're going to the Bible as some sort of guide, is like, how do we act more like children? And to me, like looking at my children, like my young ones, we get to a point where we then are like so conditioned. But my 2
Yeah.
year old, she'll be 2 on Sunday. And my 4 year old, they're like so curious. They're ever evolving. Like my daughter is best friends with Victoria today and Steven tomorrow and doesn't like Victoria anymore. And then she's like wearing a dress and now she hates dresses and
Yes.
like her identity is like she's constantly pulling the masks off and she's like, I can be whoever the hell I want to be. She's limitless. She's
I
curious.
love
She's
it.
like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And I'm like, that's literally how, if you want to heal, that's how you
Mhm.
want to act. And people say, oh, well, children are actually submissive. No, she's not inherently submissive. Let me tell you, she's very curious. She's very
Absolutely.
ever evolving. That's what you want
Mhm.
to be embodying, is
Yes.
that I have the ability to rip a mask off, put the next one on, and like just do not even care about the fact that that one's sitting over there and I don't want it anymore. Whatever.
Oh my goodness, so cute. I love it. I love it. And it's so true. Children are the best. They really do mirror so much within us and then also show us so much of what we need to embody and change.
Yeah. Yeah, which is
Best work.
curiosity, curiosity, curiosity. Just like we
100%, yes.
ask yourself why? Every time you react, why? Why are you
Mhm,
reacting?
mhm.
Why?
So
Be annoying like a child with yourself.
so true. So true. I love that.
Yeah. Um, we'll ask one final question for anyone listening. What do you feel like the link is between healing past trauma and stepping into this greater purpose, intuition, like actually listening to your body? And what would you suggest one practice be for somebody who's listening right now and is like starting brand new? Where can they start? Where would you start them? One easy
I think
thing.
what I would like individuals to kind of learn more so is kind of play like an intuitive game with yourself, kind of check in with what
Mm,
that would look like for you. So maybe just kind of gather more of like, you're hearing a voice or you're assessing
mm,
something that's going on in the space or you're kind of feeling a sensation in your body. Like pay attention to how that operates within you, tune in a
mm.
little bit more. I think like right now, especially within the year that we're moving into, the year of the horse as well. I
Yeah.
think that intuition is going to be heightened in a lot of ways. And I do feel
Mm,
we need to work together with our nervous system and our intuition, but we need to start to develop the language. And then
mhm,
to go a level further with that, sit down, whether in a space in your home that's going to be the place that you go to, and you're going to set the tone and the intention that that's going to be the area that you're going to go regulate yourself. And you're
yeah.
going to sit there every single day. I'm not asking for meditation. I'm not asking for like a yoga practice. I'm not asking for anything. Just have pen and paper beside you
Quiet time.
and quiet time for 5 minutes if you can, and write a
Yeah.
letter to your inner child every single day.
Mm,
Have a
I love
conversation
that.
inner child. Acknowledge
Mm,
their presence. Tell them you will not abandon them. Tell them that you're learning how to
mm.
embody safety by listening to yourself. Start there.
That is beautiful. I love that, and I think it's digestible. People can do that. People can sit for
Simple.
5 minutes with a piece of paper and a pen. That's beautiful. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for helping us peel back a lot
You.
of layers today,
I
showing
loved
us
it.
how shadow work and soul work aren't just concepts. I think we get stuck on, they're trendy words. They're not just trendy words. They are
Yeah.
true pathways into this beautiful new lasting transformation. And for our listeners who feel called, they can go deeper into your work where?
So I'm on Instagram, Christina _life _spiritual, www.ChristinaProkos.com. And I have my book that I just released, Embrace Your Shadows, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Indigo.
Beautiful. And you will send me those links and I'll make sure I add them on there.
Yes,
Oh, and
I
my
will.
dog has decided to come and
Oh,
say
hi,
hello.
Kitty. Oh my goodness,
Okay.
it's my feet. Hi. So
he's,
sweet.
like, he's like literally, let me just make out with you, mom. Okay, everyone, this is my doodle. That's good. Anyways, thank you everyone for joining us today. And as always, thank you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next spiral.
Thank you.